You're listening to the Multifamily Mentor Show.
My name is Terrance Doyle.
And I'm Chris Lopez. You probably know us from the BiggerPockets Real Estate Ride Along Show. Well, now we're talking everything multifamily. We bring in top industry experts from around the country to come join us in our Denver studio for an in-depth, in-person conversation.
We're going to be diving deep into deals, underwriting, raising capital, and everything in between. Join the conversation.
What's up, BiggerPockets? Chris Lopez here with a special episode, actually two special episodes for the Multifamily Mentor Show. So rather than Terrance and I interviewing someone, today I'm interviewing Terrance and putting him in the hot seat. Terrance, how are you?
I'm doing extremely well. I'm just thinking, if every episode is special, are they all special? But it has been an amazing season, and I do believe every episode has been special. Hopefully this one lives up to the other ones in the rest of season 2.
It will. I should say special because it's a different format.
It's a different format.
You're
That's
on the
right.
different side of the microphone this time. So let's rewind it. We're going to talk about your story here because you've had an amazing real estate run, scaling from residential to now doing hundreds of multifamily units. And you and I connected in March of 2017. And we connected actually over BiggerPockets forum, connect over some marketing podcast forum, grab some coffee. At the time, I was just ramping up my business out here. You were going 100 miles an hour doing a single family fix and flips. And now fast forward 4 years later, no longer doing single family fix and flips, but now you're taking down hundreds of multi-units every single year with a lot of properties under management right now. So rewind us. Where did it start and how'd you get here?
Yeah, I remember us having coffee. We were in Cherry Creek, one of my favorite coffee shops, and I did find you on BiggerPockets. I used to be on BiggerPockets every single week, and I would connect with, and that's when my transition to commercial began because I was trying to find commercial brokers, right? I was on there, I was seeing who was doing commercial, who's doing apartments, how are they scaling, how are people doing 100+ unit buildings? And so that's when I got on BiggerPockets to learn that. And the thing that intrigued me and that made me want to reach out was you had a special niche about podcast and marketing, and you were trying to dominate the Colorado scene. You were going to start this Colorado real estate investing podcast. I was like, I want to meet this guy. So we got together, and it's been an amazing run ever since then. But to answer the initial question, all I knew was single family back in the day. We had started buying foreclosures in 2008. The market, the timing at that point was there was opportunity everywhere, right? In 2008, the economy's crashing. Most of the audience can probably remember, hopefully, what that was like. I mean, people were losing their jobs. The stock market's crashing. I mean, there was just pain everywhere when it came to the financial industry. And, so that's when I started. And capital was very difficult to come by. Capital was hard. Deals were everywhere. And so I had made a couple dollars from a previous business. I started investing in foreclosures and did not understand real estate. I just understood that it was a trade. It was a transaction. You could buy homes for $60,000, put $5,000 in, and then sell them to an investor for $95,000. And those investors ended up being the smart ones, right? They were the ones that understood cycles. They understood cash flow. They understood growing your net worth versus just a transaction of, making a commission. And, so we had a great run doing that. And then in 2014, I really wanted to build something more scalable, more passive with cash flow. I had been doing all these transactions and I only made money when I would sell a property. If I stopped buying and selling, we wouldn't make money. And I was like, how can I make money every month?
I would say, what triggered that mental shift?
I think just growing. We had done 600 or 700 flips up to that point, me and my partners, and I wanted something more passive, more scalable, a better return on my time. Right? You'd spend all this time flipping properties, finding them at the foreclosure sale, buying them, rehabbing them, having to sell them. It's a lot of work. Anyone that has done flipping, you understand every transaction, even now. I mean, it's so much harder to find a deal, so much more intensive construction is needed. And then selling, it's difficult. You have to do inspection items, you have to have showings. I mean, it's a lot. The process is exhausting, especially if you're trying to make millions and millions of dollars. You have to do a lot of transactions. And I just wanted a better return on my time. And that was really the genesis of it. Also, I was engaged. So I wanted to start having a family. And I was like, I want to spend less time doing deals. I want to spend more time with my wife, with, having a family, growing a family, traveling. And so those are the things that were going in my head. And I was like, okay, if I want this desired result, let me reverse engineer. What do I need to do for my business to get that desired result? And the key really was scale, more efficiency, and to build something passive that would pay me every single month. And that was the light bulb moment for me, is how can I do this? And so I took my advantage in construction. I speak fluent Spanish. I understood construction. I had dedicated crews and I had capital, right? I had capital, I had crews. I just needed larger buildings so that I could do, the same kind of flip mentality of renovation. And then instead of just selling it, I wanted to be able to lease it up and then collect cash flow, refinance it, or sell it. And so I started with fourplexes, 8-unit buildings, 10-unit buildings in and around Denver. And at the time, it was pretty easy. I mean, you could find these things on the market. People were wholesaling them. I mean, back in 2014, multifamily was not as sexy as it is today. So it was a lot easier, especially in Denver. I mean, Denver has appreciated rapidly.
It's a hot market.
Hot market. So it was a lot easier and not as many people were chasing these kind of deals. And that's how I started. And then when I met you, I was just starting to try and do larger deals in Denver. And I was really trying to pivot and kind of rebrand myself from like someone that just did flips to someone that did commercial multifamily properties. And that's all I was trying to do. And so I was in that transition period when you and I met of trying to rebrand myself, change my business, change the relationships I had with brokers, with lenders, with bankers and, everybody in the ecosystem. I was trying to be known as a multifamily investor. And so that was it. 2017, I was just in that season of transition.
I want to, if you can go back that time, because there's a lot of people out there that want to transition from, single family to multifamily. What tip or advice would you give someone out there? They're fix and flipping, they may own single family rentals. How do they start scaling up? Like, give a tip or two.
Yeah, the first thought that comes to mind is it's scary, right? Because we knew how to make money flipping properties. People were bringing me all kinds of deals. I mean, I'd been doing it at that point for 6, 7, 8 years, and wholesalers and residential brokers knew that I could close. They knew that they were going to get the listing back once we finished it. Bankers knew, hard money lenders knew us. It was very comfortable. It was easy. I could get deals done in my sleep, right? But it wasn't going to allow me to get where I wanted to go, which to have more margin, have more time, and build my net worth. And so it was scary because I had to basically be willing to say no to flips, right? Because every time I would say yes to a flip, I basically didn't have the bandwidth to do a multifamily deal. So I had to be willing to go a year without making real money. I had to be willing to say, listen, I'm going to say no to every single flip that comes across my desk so that I can focus on doing multifamily deals. And to do that, I had to go out there. I mean, I remember spending 12 to 16 months just building relationships and planting seeds with brokers, because it's a different set of relationships, right? The people that have 20, 30, 40, 50 unit apartment buildings in Denver are not the same people that are selling me flips, right? So I had to rebrand myself. I had to build confidence with those. So I would go to brokers and I'd say, hey, here's what I'm trying to do. Here's what I've done. And they'd be like, oh yeah, great. We see you've done a bunch of flips, but how do we know you're going to close on a 30 unit apartment building that's off market, right? We only have one shot at this. How do we know you're going to close? So it took a lot of repetition, a lot of follow-up, a lot of convincing, it was exhausting. Perseverance comes to mind. Like, you have to be willing to say no. You have to be willing to to go 6, 8, 10 months without doing a deal so that you can grow in this multifamily side. I think it's very difficult to do both, because if you're saying yes to flips, you're going to be distracted, right? So I had to be willing to say no so that I could say yes to these opportunities and spend the time. I had to spend time with banks, convincing them that they could lend to me, because I couldn't get a hard money loan or a private money loan. I had to have real banking relationships. So these are the first times that I really had to close a deal with like a proper due diligence period, right? So I had to learn what due diligence is like, how to do it differently for multifamily. So I just think the tip is you have to be willing to say no. You have to persevere. You have to follow up. All these things. You have to be willing to take a lot of rejection. I mean, I would leave meetings being like, man, what am I doing wrong? Why is no one sending me a deal? Why does no one believe in me? Like, I knew I could do it. In my mind, I'm like, I've just done all these flips, all these transactions, so difficult. I can do the same thing. It's like 30 flips in one address. It's way, it's easier. I can do it. But from me thinking it and believing it to actually doing it and convincing someone else I could do it, there's a big gap there, right? And it just takes time, patience, perseverance, follow up. Those are the things that I think, people need to apply. Is it's not going to be instant gratification. It's going to take time. I started to make that transition in 2016, and I wasn't doing deals till the end of 2017, 18.
So it took you a good 18 months then, right?
Right. And then from 2018 to 2022, 1,000, 1,100 units later, that's what, that's the payoff, right? That's the payoff, is that, it's changed my life. But it took me a year of patience and perseverance and like getting punched in the face to get there.
So I remember our first meeting vividly. We met at that coffee shop in Cherry Creek, which is a cool part of town here in Denver. And a pro tip I want to give to other people out there is, I was sitting down talking with everyone because I was using my marketing background and my vision for what I do out here in Colorado as a reason to talk to a bunch of people. And I would talk to, 100 people, just crank through meetings. You were the only person that took notes when I actually gave marketing advice. And the next day you emailed back and said, hey, I had questions on this, this, and this. I was like, wow, I like this guy. Of course, this was a 40-minute coffee meeting, boom, 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 boom. But you were very present and you took notes and you took action. So good tip for people out there, if you're talking to other people or networking, be focused and actually apply what the person's giving to you. So that's something I remember about you. That's why I was like, cool, I like this guy a lot.
That's cool. Yeah, I remember you saying that a lot of people would reach out because you were doing a podcast. And, at that time, podcasting wasn't mainstream like it is today, right? It's kind of like NFTs now. It's like, wait, what is that?
Yeah.
So podcasting at the time, it was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Like, what is that? And I remember you telling me that you meet with a lot of people and I was the only person. So I just think fundamentals, right? I think that's what helped me get brokers, get lenders, and build, inspectors, contractors, all these relationships you have to do a transaction. I was doing the same thing I was doing with you. I would meet with people, I would follow up, I would take action. But you have to be willing to do that at scale. You can't just expect that I meet with someone, you have a great meeting, and then, hey, deals are going to come. You have to follow up. You have to take action. You have to be willing to, take some rejection and be patient. Patience, right? It's not going to happen overnight. Real estate, especially multifamily and commercial, especially as you get bigger, is not an overnight thing. It's not a get rich quick scheme. People want things now, right? We live in a society where, microwave, they want things in 30 seconds, 3 minutes, 3 days, right? How many people come work? Want to come work for us. And they're like, oh yeah, I thought I was going to get rich in 3 months. It's like, no. This is like a 30-year thing. This is like time, right? Time. You got to put in the work. And so you have to be committed to that. And it's not fun. If someone would have told me in 2017 how hard it was going to be, I probably wouldn't have done it. I didn't realize what I was getting into, right? But now looking back, it's been so worth it.
Was the juice worth a squeeze?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, okay, going back timeline here. So, you already started scaling up in 2016, 2017 timeframe. And then I remember you were having a retreat for your business, November of 2020,
right?
About a year ago or a couple months ago. And at the time, it was you and 3 people.
Yeah.
Okay. And, I was talking about marketing and we just do a lot of collaboration on there. And then over 14 months, you went from how many units and how many employees to where you're at now?
Yeah. So we were doing a year-end retreat and we were kind of going over the year previously. So 2020, the year of COVID, right? Pandemic. And we were trying to look back and say, hey, what did we do well? What did we learn? Where do we want to go in 2021 and beyond? What kind of business do we want to build? And at the time, it was just myself, a CFO. We had a GC that had just started with us. And then I had a gal that was doing leasing for me in Denver. It was 4 people basically in an office. And we had a 500 square foot office at the time. And
half
now
of it was storage for
yeah,
materials.
Exactly. Now we have a 5,000 square foot office and 35 employees. Now 35 employees is not like a badge of honor. It's actually a lot of work.
It's a huge responsibility.
It's a lot of problems, right? But it just shows, how far we've come, right? Is that we have that many people to manage, what we're doing. And, so in 2021, a couple of things that happened is I was approached by a group here in Denver that wanted to raise a fund around the strategy of value add multifamily, right? They had seen me operate. Yeah, I'm an operator, right? I'm not a capital raiser. I'm not a speaker, right? I'm an operator. I am in the dirt every day, right? We're digging ditches. You've seen it, right? I'm on job sites. I'm in construction meetings. I'm in property management meetings. I'm in the dirt. We're executing. It's a hard blue collar, roll up your sleeves kind of business, right? That's what I love. That's where I think the real value's at. That's the value I bring is I know how to solve problems in multifamily, right? And that's what gets me fired up is I know how to add real value from the property level, right? You can send me a property. I know the location. I know what the rents are. I know what based on the square footage, the location, I can tell you almost everything about that property by just giving me a couple metrics because I've been doing it for so long, and I love it. And so this group of people were like, hey, we want cash flow. Interest rates are going down. We want cash flow. We know you know how to do it on a risk-adjusted basis. We want to raise a fund around your strategy. At the time, I didn't know what a fund was. I didn't know what it was entailed. Right? I didn't understand it. I was just like, hey, if I can operate at scale and I can do what I do best, which is source great deals off market and operate and execute to stabilize them and create disproportionate returns, I'm in. and these are people that I had built a relationship with, and I knew them, and they had been wanting to do something with me for a while. And so it made sense. The timing made sense that I felt like I was confident enough with my experience and my relationships and the network and the platform we had built over years, right? 3 or 4 years, that I was like, okay, let's do it, right? So we raised a fund. We raised roughly 30 some $million of equity. And, we bought, 1,000 plus units. And, we went, we started to do it, right? I had this pipeline and had this whole thing. And so when you buy like that and you acquire buildings, you need a lot of people, right? To execute our strategy, in-house construction, in-house property management. I had lost a ton of money trusting other people with construction and property management. And so over time, I built the infrastructure that we could do it all in-house, because that's the only thing I trusted with my own capital. So if I'm going to take other people's capital, I wanted to know that I could do it the right way.
So paint us a picture here, because I just for the record, your company, Verico, Value Add Real Estate Company.
That's right.
The name says it all. When you say in-house property management construction, give us like your business layout. Like, what do you have?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, because a lot of people say they do it, right? They say, oh yeah, we're vertically integrated, but we're actually a construction company, right? We do third-party construction. So our investors reach out to us and say, hey, can you come help me remodel my house? Can you help me do? So we have 2 superintendents that worked for publicly traded construction companies. We have a construction license, to build. We could build up to, I think, like 10 stories or something like that in Denver and Iowa. So, we have engineers, architects, designers. So we have 2 superintendents that are overseeing all the construction. We have 2 project managers, one that does budgeting and takeoffs and scheduling, right? So he's scheduling all the subs, doing all the ICAs, all the contracts, all the budgeting, all the takeoffs, right? So they're planning, hey, the plumber needs to be here at this date. The electrician needs to be here at this date. The carpenters are going to be here at this date. The tiles going in. So they're planning the whole thing across 15 projects at one time, right? And then we have 3 foremen that are floating, right? Our motto is every unit, every day. So
what's the motto?
Every unit, every day.
What's that mean?
So every unit we have in our construction in Denver and Des Moines, one of our construction team members, so foreman or superintendent, is laying eyes on that unit every day. Because the surefire way to get behind a construction and to not, there's 3 stools. It's quality, it's time, and it's budget for construction. Quality, time, and budget, regardless of the industry, the asset class. Those 3 stools of the project. And so, in order to not get behind on time, in order to be on budget, and in order to ensure quality, you have to have eyes on that unit every day, right? If we were only there, and I learned this from flipping, right? If I'm only there once a week, and they lay the tile, the floors, and it's not done correctly, and the grout lines aren't correct, and the baseboard trim isn't flush, then I have to go have them redo it. But if I'm there every day, I can say, hey, that's not right. Let's redo it, instead of having them build on top of that. And so by having that motto of every unit every day, and everything must work. Everything must work. The fundamentals, right? Just like me following up with you in 2017, the fundamentals of construction is everything has to work, right? The number one way to piss off your residents and to not have a good property that's producing cash flow is for things not to work, right? If the hot water doesn't work, if the dishwasher doesn't work. So in order to get everything to work, we have to be in there every day, every single day. And so in order to do that, you have to have a lot of people, right? It's expensive. It's not sexy. It's not attractive. It's not easy, but that's the way to deliver a great product that's good for your residents and in turn drives value to your investors. And so that's the construction team. So we have 6 or 7, I lose count, full-time people on construction. That's just full-time W-2, right? And then on top of that, we have like 40 or 50 subs doing all the trades. And then,
so before we go next, note to our listeners here or viewers here, the next episode, we actually go walk a couple of Terrance's property. We're bringing on, I think, Zach, one of your superintendents, some other team members actually walk properties and go into more details on there, because the operations of what you do or you and the company do, I think is part of your secret sauce. So we will pull back the curtain a little bit more in the next episode.
Absolutely. It's definitely what separates us. As I meet with other people and I'm talking, I'm telling the story. This is the part where people that say they want to be in it, their eyes get a little glazed over because they're like, wait, what? I thought I could just get into this industry. I didn't know I had to actually be in it. You know what I mean? I didn't know I actually really had to study construction, really had to know property management's the same way, right? We have people we have 3 people, all they do is answer the phones. Customer service, like, hey, Mrs. Smith, how is your unit? How, we had a work order yesterday. Is everything fixed? Right? That's the goal. It's customer service. The number one driver of NOI, the number one driver is renewals, right? When you have a vacancy, it's a massive expense. We can't have vacancy. So how do you do it? You build this beautiful unit in 12 months. If they want to move out, we failed. we need to make sure that person, Mrs. Smith, wants to stay for multiple years, right? So how do we do that? Maintenance. We spend a ton of time and energy on maintenance. How do you do it? How do you do not just finish it, but so that the resident feels appreciated, feels like they've been heard, right? So it's not like Robert Martinez, right? He was in season 1. I mean, this guy gets it. That's one of the reasons I love Robert Martinez.
The rock star.
The rock star, apartment rock star. Shout out Robert Martinez. I mean, this guy gets it. He loves it. He loves customer service. He loves property management. He's looking at the toilets. He's looking at P-traps.
You guys are two peas in a pod.
I mean, this guy gets it. I mean, he's like 10 years ahead of me, so I look up to him. You know what I mean? I love Robert Martinez, but that's it. In my opinion, that's what it takes to win long-term. In an up economy, everybody looks good. Cap rates are compressing. Interest rates are down. Rents going up. Historic highs. So everybody looks good. But if you want to win long-term in a downturn, in an upturn, everything, I think you got to know these two components of the business. And I think property management is the hardest thing to be in. It's so sexy to pose on Instagram in front of buildings, right? But who's talking about property management? It's so hard. I mean, you own property. You and I, half the time you and I are talking, we're talking about how hard property management is. It's like, man, I love owning real estate, but property management is insanely difficult.
What a love-hate relationship,
right?
Like you have to have it, but no matter what, outsource it, insource it.
And no one wants to do it.
Deal with it.
And no one wants to do it. And third parties most of the time. But how many times you're like, hey, do you have any referrals for my clients in Denver? I'm like, I don't have any referrals because everyone I've tried, it's not. I wouldn't feel comfortable referring
Or
them.
they're good for 9 months and they're not good.
Right.
So going back, because I know we got a few minutes left in this episode, I'll make sure we talk about your structure. Okay. So you got the construction and you have in-house PM, which I think you started last year, right?
That's right.
Who else do you have on your team?
Yeah, so the property management company is called Live Lavender, right? So lavender is from a spa. Like what do we want people to smell and think about and remember, right? If you think about like a great hotel or a great spa experience, you remember the smell. You felt relaxed. We want to build homes for people where they feel relaxed, where they're a better version of themselves. They can be more productive, more efficient, right? They're not going to be productive if things don't work and they don't enjoy where they're living in the space. And so Live Lavender, right? We're really proud of it. Daniel, my brother, him and I built like all the systems for the company. We started it in 2016 in Des Moines. We were losing hundreds of thousands of dollars a month trusting third parties with our portfolio back then. Ooh. Just getting crushed. Maintenance, they're putting the wrong tenants, tons of vacancy, work orders, just paying retail, right? Just things that, what's hard is with property management, there's a misalignment of interest, right? If someone owns a property management company, they're trying to charge as many fees as possible so they can make money. So if people that out there own property management, they probably don't like hearing that, but that's the truth, right? If I was in the property management business, I'd be trying to make as much money as possible. How do you do that? You have to charge fees, right? And if I own a building, I'm a landlord, I'm trying to drive NOI. So those two are in conflict, right? Those two are in conflict. So that's what makes property management very difficult, right? Is I'm the owner and you own a property management business. We're not actually trying to do the same thing. If you're listening and you have a third-party property manager, I think the key is how do you align interest and compensation with NOI? No one's really solved that yet. I think that's the key if you're going to go third-party. Anyways, going back. So we have property management in-house and then asset management.
One thing with your property, from an outsider looking in, I've seen your properties and the way you have positioned Live Lavender.
Yeah.
Is I'll say you take, properties like, a class B type property and they are presented and modeled almost like a class A property. Like you're really upping the experience.
Right.
From, I've seen a lot of properties around town and for the asset classes you're buying, a lot of class B value add stuff. Other people do not put out the type of class A product that you're doing. I think that's a big distinction there, both in the way your property management's running and also go back, look at some videos or follow you on Instagram. Like you see the photos, you put out some very stylish units as well.
Yeah, it's a team, right? We build a team. Shout out to the construction team, property management team, Live Lavender. I mean, we've got really good people. And you know what? They all care. One of the cool things, I was at this conference last week in Tampa, Real Estate Lab. Shout out David Tupin. And, one of the guys talking, Gino, who's going to be on the episode on multifamily later on in the season, he was talking about it was amazing when his maintenance guys coming in and saying, hey, when are we going to refinance this property? Because they had $5,000 in the deal, right?
Ooh,
how amazing
awesome.
Is that, right? So one of the cool things about Verco is almost everybody's invested in the deals, right? Our construction team, Zach Spicer, he's one of the inside of the team, has some of the biggest money in these deals. Brittany, cousin, same thing. She's been with me for 2 years. She has a ton of money in the deals, right? So these people, they see it, they're working, and they're vested. They're like, we love it, right? And so it takes people that are all aligned, rowing in the same direction, because it's hard. I mean, there's days where it's discouraging. You got floods, you got fires, you got all kinds of, you got lost, tenants are unhappy. It's difficult. It's a dirty business. And so to get through that, like my goal and people that I admire is how do you get your team all really passionate about building their personal wealth? That's not just about Terrance and Verco. It's like, and our investors, it's the team.
Yeah. And that's something I want culture. I want to talk about that, but you were talking about asset management. Talk about that because that's the other division of your company.
Yeah. So the other thing is, I had to bring on a director of operations to run the whole thing, right? We have asset management, construction, property management. And so I brought on this gentleman named Philip Kreis, came up from Lennar Multifamily, went to Chicago Booth, a master's in finance, very analytical, very operation systems driven. As people that know me, hey, I have a lot of energy. I'm a visionary. I can get things done, but I'm terrible at email. I'm terrible at structure. I'm not very system process driven. I know how to solve problems, right? I know how to drive value, but I'm not very good in an office behind a computer. If you see me behind a computer, that's not the best use of my time. And so I had to bring people that are amazing at other things. And so asset management. So we got Philip that oversees everything. We have someone that all they do is underwrite deals. Kyle, all he does is underwrite deals. Literally like 14 hours a day underwriting deals. People are sending us deals. We only operate in two markets. People are like, when are you going to expand? When there's no deals to do, right? All there is opportunity.
And this
right?
is Denver and Des Moines.
Denver and Des Moines, Iowa. That's all we do. We're a one-trick pony in two markets, right? We know one asset class, value add, multifamily in two markets that we think we have a real advantage in. That's it. That's all we do. And so we have someone that underwrites deals. We have an accounting team. So we, in-house accounting, finance, bookkeeping. That's asset management. We have to do reports, right? Quarterly reports. One of the areas that I really want to grow in 2022 is our more timely reports. We'd love to get to a monthly report. It's very difficult when you're managing all of these things in-house. So there's room to grow, but that's the team. That's the operation. One of the areas we're weak in, people email all over the country. Hey, Terrance, we'd love to be on Verco's list. Can we invest as an LP? We've seen what you're doing. 9 out of 10 people don't get responded to. Well, it's just me, right? We don't have an investor relations team.
And nothing personal.
Nothing personal. That's just, we're not built for that. We're focused on operations, right? I'm focused on like being on the ground, digging ditches. And so that's one of the areas we need to grow is, right? I think to maximize our value, which is one of my slogans, maximize your potential, is we have to do better job at investor relations, our reporting, reaching out, following up with people that reach out to us that are accredited.
So is that a 2022 goal?
Definitely a 2022 goal. We're hiring that position right now, and it's hard. Hiring people, that's a difficult thing. You have to make sure that they fit your culture. One of the things.
Yeah, let's talk about culture.
Yeah, one of the things that you and I have talked about to scale. If you're in multifamily right now, you're looking to grow, is identify your culture. The book is Traction. We're all doing it. All of our companies, right? Your companies, my companies, the things we're doing together. Traction is the number one thing that Philip, when he came in April. He's only been with us for 7-8 months, but man, he's transformed things, right? So hiring the right people can really help you scale. I would say that's the number one most important hire. Someone that's going to help you with culture, define your culture. You want to be able to have a filter, a system to identify, does this person fit here? And the number one way to do that is, what's the culture? So it took me months, right? Philip, the first week of April, he's like, hey, let's sit down and go over your culture. And I'm like, culture? So we spent 30 minutes. He's like, no, we need to spend like 3 months on this. So I'd be like in the shower, I'd be golfing, I'd be, working out. Like, what is culture? What are the things that make me, that are in my DNA that I want other people on my team that are going to define the people that build this company, right? And so we came up with 4 or 5 things. The number one was scrappy. Scrappy. You got to be resourceful. Scrappy. Like, I come from nothing. My mom's from a third world country. Scrappy. Like, we want people that are scrappy, that are resourceful. Right? We're not the most buttoned up, institutional, sophisticated people. You come in our office, it's an industrial warehouse downtown Denver. It's not sexy, right? No one's wearing a suit. I'm wearing hoodies and t-shirts, right? And so scrappy. We want people that are scrappy. Team. I come from sports background. I love a team. In order to do great things in life, you have to have a team, build a team. And a team is made up of people with different skill sets. Right? In basketball, you got 3-point shooters. You got people that are the point guard that distribute. You got centers that rebound. You got people that defend. You got enforcers. You got a coach, a team. So we want people, team, family. Family is very important to me. You know what I mean? I get emotional thinking about it. I have like an amazing family. In order for me to do what I do, I have to have an incredible wife, my kids. I have a mom and dad. I have brothers and sisters. I have an incredible family, right? So family. The other thing is humble. I think humility is so important. Humility, understanding that it's not about me, right? I want people that think, hey, this is about a team. This is about a family. We're building something much bigger than ourselves here, right? So scrappy, humble, family, team, and I can't remember the 5th, but those are the 4 ones that stick out to me. So I think the action point is define your culture. What are the things that matter to you that you want other people to emulate? And then when someone walks in the door, a focus is the last one. Focus, precision, focus. You have to be focused to work here. There's a sense of urgency, right? We're taking other people's capital. We have to steward that well. I take that very seriously. And it's 90% of my net worth is in the company, in all these deals, right? So you got to be focused. You want to work at Verco, you want to be on our team, you got to be focused. You got to take this seriously, just like your team, right? You're helping other people identify properties to build their wealth. You want people that are focused, right? And so I say all that to say, It's so important. You want to grow your team, you're doing deals, you're like, how do we grow? Number one, define your culture. And then that's going to be the filtering system for who you hire. So when people walk in the door and they don't fit those 5 things, it's very obvious.
And I love this because, I mean, from, real estate podcasts, course education, all sorts of great tactical stuff. Hardly anyone talks about culture of their company.
Right.
Like, hear about culture and, in business and Fortune 500 companies and entrepreneurs and all that stuff. But in real estate, people don't talk about culture. And I've seen the evolution the last, year. I remember when Philip came on and you were going through like we would talk about it to each other and just you went through that transition. And I think that's been a cornerstone to your success. So we got to wrap up here, Terrance, and then we'll be walking property soon. But how can people get a hold of you? Like, what are good ways for them to follow you? Instagram, LinkedIn, where should people learn more about you and Verco?
Yeah, we have an amazing media team that we're building, Curtis Street Media. And, so one of the ways you can find me is on Instagram at Terrance Doyle. We're posting a bunch of content. We're documenting the process, right?
Yes.
The process of building a company, adding value, raising capital, operating multifamily, all things real estate and business. So Instagram, LinkedIn at Terrance Doyle. We're going to be starting a mastermind. We're going to be having people that want to chat with us. And so we're going to be doing that. So you can stay tuned. But I think Instagram, LinkedIn at Terrance Doyle. Our website, we'll put it in the show notes. And I know we're always looking to connect. We're looking to build relationships with people. And so those are the best ways to find me.
I love it. Terrance, this has been a pleasure as always. And BiggerPockets viewers, make sure you like, subscribe to the video, the channel, and hop in the comments there. Terrance and I will be responding. And we will see you next episode where we go walk properties and talk to some of Terrance's team. You're listening to the Multifamily Mentor Show.
Join the conversation.